guys, Travis here from musicalnotextr, and on this episode, I watched the movie Bad Girl. Now, before your dirty minds go crazy, no, I did not buy this movie from the adult store. This movie won Best Director. The director was Frank Bursage, and the person who wrote the screenplay to this film, Edwin Burke, won Best Writing of an Adaptation, since it was based on a novel and a play, both written by an author by the name of Viña del Mar. It was also a Best Picture nominee, but lost to Grand Hotel. This movie is a romantic drama. In a very realistic sense. Realistic for 1932, that is. It's two independent people. A woman who works as a model, and then a man who is very industrious, wants to start up his own shop. Both are independent, and they really, at first, they're not really wanting a relationship. But they run into each other, they kind of become friends, somewhat reluctantly, but then through, as the description calls it, a single night of indiscretion, or a one-night stand, they fall in love. So, they get closer, they're already talking about being married, which might seem a bit fast to you guys, but this is 1932, things were a lot simpler back in the day, and oh my gosh, it turns out to be pregnant! Pregnant out of wedlock. So, Eddie tries to go out of his way, forget his dreams in the shop, and help provide for the woman who he plans to marry, including even moonlighting as a boxer and not telling her, so the wife thinks he's going out and getting drunk into bar fights and stuff. As simple as I made it sound, the movie is a great movie. Like, I watched it, and I didn't feel like I was watching just some other romance drama. I actually quite enjoyed it. It's a bit dialogue-heavy. It's not like an epic movie, like what Oscar nominees traditionally are, which are, have a big epic storyline, story of redemption, or an original screenplay that's truly groundbreaking because it goes into this epic new concept or something. No. It wasn't like that. It was kind of like what Silver Linings Playbook was to the 2013 Oscars. It was this contemporary movie, entirely based in internal conflict, about the real contemporary world that we live in, or at least you would have lived in had you watched this movie when it came out. And it was really nice to see that. None of the romance didn't feel pushed or forced. I mean, you knew the two were going to end up together. You just weren't quite sure how it was going to go. In fact, it was like, most romantic dramas, it's like, oh, the happy ending is coming. Maybe you'll have their little split in the middle of the movie, but they'll reconcile and come back together. The way this is written, you weren't quite sure how it was going to result. And the acting in this movie is pretty good. James Dunn and Sally Ehlers, who played the leads, for some reason they got snubbed for Best Actor and Best Actress. I don't know why that would be, other than maybe it has something to do with the fact that in the 5th Oscars, the Academy went back to just nominating 3 people per acting category, which is dumb and really unfair. Really leaves out some good talent. I mean, I don't know if James Dunn would have beaten Wallace Beery, but still, he deserved to have been up there with him, and Sally Ehlers should have gotten nominated. Directing was really well done, because it was realistic. For the time, it was realistic. It felt real. Probably the Edwin Burke's writing, adapted from Viña del Mar's writing, helped. The only part I didn't like about this movie is that it's severely mistitled. Bad Girl. Okay, so she had sex out of wedlock, but does that make her really bad? It's not like she did any, crazy sex acts, or she was a slut, or did anything really naughty. But then again, this is 1932, so maybe back then, if you got pregnant out of wedlock, and even if you are planning to get married, that's still considered a bad thing. But really, there was nothing in this movie to indicate that society... Well, actually, there was a couple of moments. It demonstrated that society probably would have put her as a bad girl. It wasn't really that big part of the movie to the point where I felt the title was justified. If the title was just simply Eddie and Sally, or One Night of Love, or One Night of Indiscretion. I don't know. If it was some other title like that, maybe, but Bad Girl. Is there gonna be some sex act that they could do, since you could technically do that before the Hays Code was passed in 1934? It was none of that. For those of you who don't know, a pre-code film is a film that came out before 1934, before the Hayes Code was enforced, which was started by a man named William Hayes, a Presbyterian elder who wrote the code thinking that the motion picture industry needed to censor itself from anything super violent to cursing to anything, any way, shape, or form that's related to sex. Like, it's the reason why many movies you see in the 40s and 50s show a married couple sleeping in two separate beds in the same room. I laugh every time I see that because I've seen my parents sleep in the same bed when I was like as little as 4, and I wasn't like sexually damaged by that. Pre-code films are probably the most enjoyable black and white films in my opinion from that area. Like All Quiet on the Western Front could be considered a pre-code just because it's super violent. Even though there's nothing really like sexually explicit in there, it is still considered a pre-code just because there's a few references to sex here and there. It's very, very subtle in comparison to what we consider subtle sex references, to the point where if your little kid was watching the movie, he wouldn't get it. He wouldn't catch on. He'd just hear people talking. That's all. That's all your kid would get out of that. Whereas you, if you were actually paying attention to the dialogue, you'd be like, oh, I see what they're talking about there. This film was enjoyable. If you're into dialogue-based movies with heavy dialogue, then this is the movie for you. This is the movie for you. And if you're into contemporary movies about just two ordinary people, this movie is for you. I can't wait to see what Grand Hotel has in that movie, since that movie won Best Picture, but right now I'm leaning towards this movie as my favorite Best Picture nominee so far that I've watched from this year. So that's why I give it 4 stars. Definitely go see it if you get a chance and if you're a movie fanatic of those particular genres that I mentioned. Tune in next Sunday for the review of Grand Hotel, the 5th annual Best Picture of the Year. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.